Welcome to the Podficcer Baton Pass for Shutterbug by I. Riley. The way this works is that I'm reading Chapter 40. Ray of Sunshine read the previous chapter, and Dust Bunny will be reading the next chapter, passing along who will be reading Shutterbug until the podfic is finished. With that, let's get started. Shutterbug, written by I. Riley. Read for you by Gemini Wishes. Chapter 40. Taking a sip from her mug, Celine looks over at Tim, who just continues to read over whatever case he'd been stressed on. Something about a private company selling weird weapons to different groups, cops included, apparently, all with a small marking of a flower imprinted on a small component. Hearing the sounds of keys, Celine looks over to the open walkway facing the door. Jason walks by without so much as a glance at her or Tim. Rude, she thinks, before pausing. Squinting, she takes in his appearance before he's gone. A new t-shirt, normal jeans, freshly shaved, a smile. Oh my God, he's going on a date. Tim looks up at her with a snort. You have a god? Sending a glare at the younger man, Celine stands up and grabs her jacket off the back of her seat, sending a text to Dick that she was running out for a bit. Ha ha, very funny. You coming with me to follow Jason and spy on his date, or no? Tim closes the file in front of him and stands. Isn't that just called stalking? Celine smirks as they walk out the door. Then it's something you're used to, she says as she steps into the car, calling Barbara as she clicks her seatbelt on, Tim doing the same in the passenger seat. Hey, Babs, could you find Jason for me? I'm like 95% sure he's going on a date, so me and Tim are tailing him. While she talks, she pulls the sun visor down and catches the keys as they drop. Sure can, but you're so keeping me on the line. Celine smirks as the GPS sparks to life, showing her the way to where Jason was. Will do. And like that, they're off. After a short drive, they pull into a small cafe. White walls with a simple design, small flowers painted along the windows and walls. The inside isn't too different, white with a clean but homey look. Walking in with Tim not far behind her, Celine sits at a booth near the door, hiding her face with a newspaper she'd grabbed from the front. Tim had slipped on a baseball cap and a pair of sunglasses. He'd grabbed 2 coffees and pushed one to Celine. Got sight of him? She glances past him and scans the room. Spotting Jason's head of hair in the back corner, she nods. Affirmative. A plant is blocking the other target, though. Tim gives her a look before turning. What's with the big words? She looks at him like he's stupid. We're on a mission, are we not? Why, the big words too much for you? She watches as he squints at her. Hardly. I'm going to go to the bathroom and move the plant. She nods and smirks. He was so easy to rope into schemes. No wonder he was always getting into trouble. She watches as he stumbles into the plant, which moves it. He doesn't look over at the table Jason was at, so he didn't get caught. He did manage to give Celine the perfect view to see Jason's secret date. Holy shit, he actually did it. Across from Jason was a smiling Peter. Taking a sip of her coffee, Celine thinks back to 2 nights prior. Jason had gone out to meet with Roy, at a bar no doubt, but Roy had called her and said he wasn't there when he got there. A few hours later, and Jason strolls in like Bruce wasn't 2 seconds away from putting out a missing persons report, let alone go looking himself. He just said he was fine and went straight to his room. The next day, he was all smiles. You'd be hard-pressed to see him without his phone in hand. Guess Peter finally got back to him. Tim sits back down at the table. It's Peter. Jason's secret date was with Peter. Tim's shock is only slightly expected. He knew Jason liked Peter, but Peter had also become one of his best friends. It was probably weird to see his best friend and brother together like that. Know that feeling all too well, Tim. She shakes her head with the silent recognition for Tim. Someone from the next booth over turns to face them. Shh! They'll hear you if you say their names so loud. Confused by the man's words, Celine opens her mouth to ask, How do you know them? Tim looks like he's about to go on the defensive, a hand reaching for his pocket in case they need backup. The man, a tall man with no hair from what Celine can see under the beanie, and a pair of sunglasses, turns to them fully, showing Celine and Tim the scarring of his face. Before they can say anything, another man's head pops up from the other seat. Don't mind him. We're friends of Peter's. My name's Matt, and this is Wade. The other man has short brown hair and a pair of dark red sunglasses on, a white and orange cane folded next to him on the seat. Blind, Celine's mind supplied. Celine, and this is Tim. We're friends of Jason's. They nod, and Wade moves to wave his hand, beckoning them to join them at their table. Want to spy with us? Celine and Tim share a look. Tim's not sure, but Celine nods. As they move to switch seats, they quickly sit back down. They're moving! All four spies look down or out the window as the two pass and walk out the door. After them! Wade whisper shouts as he stands and makes a dash for the door. Celine jumps up too, and Tim stands with Matt, both standing up unrushed. They follow on foot, at a distance, while the two men walk. They walk to the pier and walk along the shops the docks had set out. A small festival had popped up earlier in the week, and by now most people have come and gone. They follow as the two go on some of the rides, eat some food, and watch some of the street performers. It's near sunset at this point, and the two are continuing their walk down the docks. Celine can't help but look over at the water and how the sun is reflecting off it. Perfect picture. She glances over to Tim, the younger man smiling at the rare sight. She can't help but nod at his words. Peter must think so too, since he pulls out a phone, turning to Jason and taking a picture. Jason's center focus, with the setting sun backdropping him. Celine can only imagine how the picture came out, but seeing the almost starstruck look Peter gives Jason, she guesses it's a good one. They quickly duck behind a bench when they start to make their way back. Jason makes a joke, and Peter laughs with his full body. They're close enough that Celine can see the look Jason gives him when he's not looking. The same way that Bruce looks at Clark. The same she knows she gives Dick. The same her dad gave her mom. He's in love. The three men look at her, slightly surprised. A bit fast for that, don't you think? Tim asks. She shakes her head. I think we've intruded enough. Let's let them have the rest of the night. They have to figure it out themselves, after all. She laughs a bit when Wayne deflates. Want to grab dinner? Tim's treat. Tim looks at her before patting at his back pocket. She holds up his wallet. When did you? She smirks. Party trick Selena taught me. Wade jumps up. You gotta teach me that. She nods, and Matt shakes his head. After a bit of back and forth, they decide on Chinese. When they walk in, they come face to face with Jason and Peter. What the hell? Jason looks at Celine incriminately. She raises her hands in surrender. I promise this was an accident. He looks past her to see Tim and Peter's friends. Uh-huh. And who are they? Peter walks back over to Jason, having checked in on the hostess station. They said it'll be a few... What are you two doing here? Jason looks back at Peter. You know them? Peter nods and gives them a look. This is Wade and Matt, my friends. Not sure why they're here, though I have an idea. Wade lets out a nervous laugh. Peter sighs. Should I tell them it's 6 now? Jason sighs, but nods. May as well make it 8. The new voice makes them all turn. Bruce stands in the doorway, a slightly embarrassed Clark standing behind him. How about 9? Dick pops his head over Bruce's shoulder. How'd you... Dick chuckles. Babs called, said she wanted updates on the whole tailing situation. She can hear someone clearing their throat behind her. Uh-oh. Uh-oh is the light of it. She turns to see Jason looming above her. Peter sighs and turns. I'll go update them. And don't think I forgot about you two. He sends a glare at Wade and Matt. Wade shivers, and Matt shrugs. I'm just a bystander. Another look from Peter had the older man quiet. He pushes his red glasses up. Fair enough. This'll be an interesting dinner. And it was. A little bit after Peter had gone to update the hostess, they were sat at a large table. Each pair sat together. Tim, Wade, and Matt were at the bench between the two families. Peter and Jason the other. They'd eaten and talked, joked for some people. Dick, Peter, and Wade. Wait, your nickname is Dick? Wade asks. The man in question nods. You would not do well on TikTok. Peter snorts while trying to take a sip of his drink. TikTok? Bruce whispered to Tim. The younger man shrugs. Peter tries to hold back his laughs as he talks, but he just barely manages to get out. Dink! Which sets off Wade, and even Matt has to hold back a laugh. A look around the table, and soon enough the whole table was laughing. Jason smirks.
You're so getting a new name in the group chat.
Dick smiles and nods. If this was the kind of influence Peter had on Jason, then Celine was glad he was here. No more crime lord, just a boy in love. Glad to have you back, Jace. While getting ready for bed, Peter thinks back to earlier in the day. He'd gotten the strong feeling of being watched. He had tried to ignore it, but it seemed to follow them. Peter had kept an eye open, but luckily it was just his friends. It is odd, though. Wade doesn't set my spidey senses off. Must be because of Tim and Celine. In the end, he chalks it up to them. A small pit of unease slips into his stomach.